Hi, I hope you're good. Today we are doing a sweet and spicy flow. So you'll see postures like Sunbird and also Malasana. And if you're thinking, I'm not sure what those things are, don't worry about it. You're guided all the way through the class. As always, make sure that you're listening to your own body. Everything that's offered in my classes, whether in real life or online, they're just a guide. So if you feel like you've got a slightly different variation that you prefer doing that suits you in your body, please do that instead. And whenever you're ready, grab yourself your yoga mat. Maybe you want a couple of yoga blocks with you and your water, and we can get started. So start off in a kneeling position, very similar to hero's pose, or you can do this in a seated position, maybe with the legs crisscross, like in easy pose. So we're going to be taking one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. And if you're like me, I tend to lean forwards a little bit. So I want you to find this imaginary wall behind you that will help you to sit up nice and tall, and roll the shoulders back and away from the ears, so immediately the neck gets super long, and lift up through the crown of the head. Now connect with your pelvic floor muscles and draw those towards your belly button, and your belly button drawing that towards your lower spine, so things should feel pretty strong and connected already just by doing this. Now focus on your breathing. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. And one more time, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. And whenever you're ready, slowly begin to open the eyes, just let them adjust. And we're going to be taking the hands down onto the mat here so that we are on all fours. So you just want to make sure that your shoulders are above your knees. No, your shoulders are above your wrists. And your hips are stepped above your knees. I will get there. So we're going to start to round the spine into a cat stretch, which means that the head is down and the tailbone points towards the backs of the knees, and then move it into cow pose next. Lift the chin and the sit bones up towards the sky. And again, to round the spine, head is down, tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Then move it here into your cow pose. So you bring the two postures kind of seamlessly together here. Make sure you're breathing the whole time, and push away your mat. Set your shoulders away from your ears to broaden the upper body. Move from the pelvis rather than just nodding the head up and down. And if you haven't done already, close the eyes, because we want the face nice and relaxed, especially when you're doing, say, cow pose. We tend to look upwards and the eyes roll into the back of the head and the forehead creases up. So we want the face nice and relaxed. Next up from here, we're moving into downward facing dog. So come back into that sort of all fours neutral position, and then lift the hips up towards the sky when you're ready. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Again, keep pushing away the mat. We're going to take a walk on the spot and alternate between bending and straightening out the legs. So if you're really hypermobile in the back and the head touches the floor, or nearly does quite easily, I want you to focus more on hugging the ribs in. If you find that your back is rounded, focus on broadening the shoulders. Try not to tense up the shoulders or the neck. And if you need to, you can kind of sway the hips side to side. So just try to loosen off the back, reminding it to relax. So this might involve kind of bending both knees or just one knee at a time, but taking the hips side to side. All right, so whenever you're ready, come back down onto all fours. Now you're going to find Sunbird next, which means that we are going to be taking our right leg towards the back and the left hand forward. So making sure we've got opposite hand to opposite leg. And this part's important. I want you to hug the tummy in and the ribs as well, so that you're not kind of dipping here with the belly and trying to lift the arm and leg too high. We're going to switch sides. So we've got left leg towards the back and right hand forwards. Again, push away the mat. Try and square off the hips and the shoulders as best as you can. And again, to switch sides, taking it down, and then we've got right leg back and left hand forwards. Good. One more time, just like that. Again, nice deep breaths. Now we're going to add some reps to this. So we're back down and we're taking the right leg back, left hand forwards. Now I'm going to bring the knee towards the elbow and the elbow towards the knee. And these two areas may or may not touch, don't worry about it. And then reach back and forwards once again. Okay, so again, nice deep breaths. Keep going. Involve a little bit of your cat stretch whilst you do these as well, so you can round the back when you're getting those areas to meet and they go really long in the body. All right, so we're going to change sides. Okay, so if you need to roll around the wrist, then go for it. So we've got left leg back and right hand forwards, and then again we're going to get everything to meet in the middle and then expand. So stay nice and strong, and you don't feel like these work the core maybe necessarily, but they do. These are fantastic as, you know, an alternative to doing sort of core exercises that always seem to be like you have to lay down to do them. These ones are great as well. So we're going to switch sides and do the same again. So we've got right leg back, left hand forwards. Nice deep breaths as you do these. Keep pushing away the floor, spreading the hands out nice and wide. Keep focusing on your form. All right, and again, we're going to switch to the other side. Doing good. All right, so we've got Sunbird, left leg back, right hand forwards. Meet everything in the middle. And then reach. Get nice and long in that back leg. Try and reach with those toes, ballet toes on the go. Not that I'm a ballerina, so any ballerinas doing this, don't judge. Just point those toes. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. And then down, nice job. Okay, so come back into child's pose. And what I want you to do is roll around the wrists whilst you're in child's pose. So you can kind of do one hand at a time if you need to focus a bit more on it. Make sure that you can either spread the hands while you're doing this or clench the hands into fists, but just make sure you take any of that weight off of the wrist for a moment here, and you're going to be coming up into downward facing dog. So whenever you're ready, have the knees underneath the hips, don't forget, push away the mat, roll the shoulders away from the ears and close the eyes. Let that neck be nice and long. And try and tilt the hips slightly so the sit bones lift up towards the ceiling. You might find this provides an additional stretch there on the backs of the legs. Then we're going to walk the feet towards the back, going into plank pose. This is where I really want you to draw navel to spine and hug the ribs in, especially. Make sure your shoulders are above your wrists and you've got your tailbone pointing towards your heels. Chaturanga Dandasana next, so either push from the toes or you can take the knees down first. Bend those elbows and lift up into Cobra. Roll the shoulders back, press down through the tops of the feet. Lift the chin up nice and high. Take a nice deep breath. And a long exhale. And again, push the bum towards the back, up into your downward facing dog. Then into plank pose. Chaturanga Dandasana down. Lifting up into Cobra and into downward facing dog. And let's do one more round. Walking those feet into plank. Chaturanga Dandasana down. And lifting up into your Cobra. So push back again into child's pose. And if you want to, you can bring the knees out nice and wide, big toes touch together. Maybe the forehead touches the ground and you want to wrap your arms around towards the lower back. Or if the head doesn't touch the floor so easily, we stack one hand on top of the other. And rest the forehead into the hands instead, which also feels really nice. Just make sure the body is super long, that you're not kind of curled up into a ball with this one. And slowly coming all the way back up. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll take some hip circles first and then bring it back to our Sunbird. So once you're on all fours, take just your right elbow down towards the floor. Push away your mat with the left palm as well. And this means we can lift the left leg up towards the sky. I'm going to bring heel towards backside, and then I'm going to start these nice circles here with this left leg. Now I'm going anti-clockwise, but I am going to change direction. So I'm going to make sure that I kind of cover both sides there. with the rotations. And it's really normal for your like hip or even your glutes to get tired when you do this one. If you think, oh, I'm starting to ache there, that's normal, okay? So we're gonna go over towards the other side, come back up, left elbow down, right palm stays grounded. We lift the right leg up towards the sky, bring the heel towards backside, and start those circles. Keep pushing away your mat. Try not to kind of allow the rest of the body to rock side to side too much. Just try to isolate the movement in the hip and in the core to work. All right, and then from here, come back up. Now, once you're on all fours, we're just going to focus on the legs. So I described this in class as like a dog having a wee, and I'm so sorry to say it, but as soon as I say it, everyone goes, oh yeah, I know what you mean. And we're going to do that. So we're going to bring the knee out towards the side as if you are trying to bring the knee up towards the shoulder, and you're going to alternate, all right? Now, what I want you to take note of is every time you're lifting that knee, are you bending the other elbow like so? And if that's happening, I want you to do your best to try and straighten out both elbows or arms and make sure that you're not leaning too much to the side and kind of overcompensating. I know that's really hard though, so if you're just starting these, then don't worry about it too much. But yeah, always nice to know like what you're working towards. Okay, now the glutes are definitely tired. So rest back for a moment. You might need to give the buttocks a bit of a tap there just to ease any of that off. And now you're going to add that to your Sunbird. So what's going to happen is we're going to be bringing, as an example, left leg towards the back, right hand forwards. We're going to then take the left knee out towards the side and the right elbow out towards the side, okay? So switch sides. We have got right leg out towards the back, left hand forwards, right knee out to the side, left elbow out to the side, and back down. You got it? Okay, so we've got left leg towards the back, right hand forwards, and again, bring everything out towards the side. So we've got left knee out to the side, right elbow out to the side, and hold. All right. So return it into Sunbird, take it back down. Right leg towards the back, left hand forwards, and bring it out to the side. So you can kind of see it as a bit like a weird funky cactus position. Back into Sunbird, back down, all right, onto the other side. So we've got left leg back, right hand forwards. Now bring it into your cactus position, return it into Sunbird, and then stay on the same side and repeat. So you've got to work so hard to stabilize the core, the hips, even the shoulders here to maintain this position. I'm going to do one more on this side and then I'm going to switch, okay? So I've got right leg back, left hand forwards, and of course bring that elbow and that knee out towards the side. Let's go. So I find that one side is definitely easier than the other for me. And I would say, I kind of feel like sometimes I go quiet when I'm doing these. I have to focus so hard on these. I don't find these easy in the slightest. I find these really challenging. You can let me know if you do as well. Okay, right, so I back down. And this time I'm going to lift up into downward facing dog. I'm going to walk the feet back. I feel like they're a bit close in for me there. Let the neck be nice and loose. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Draw navel to spine. Push away the floor and come up really high onto the balls of the feet and walk the feet forwards towards the hands, coming into forward fold. So if you want to, you can separate the knees a little bit wider and let the whole body just hang down nice and heavy after that. Definitely think about bending the knees to open up the lower spine here with this forward fold. Give the body a bit of a wriggle, seeing if it will surrender downwards towards the floor a bit more. We're going to take the hands onto the shins and inhale, lift up halfway. And then on the exhale, forward fold. You can hold onto the backs of the legs. Remember to roll the shoulders away from the ears. And again, inhale, lifting up halfway. On your exhale, forward fold. And we're going to do that one more time. Push away from the legs. Nice and long there in the body. On the exhale, forward fold down. So we're going to bend the knees, drop the arms, and roll up the spine to come up to standing. So just make sure you do this nice and slowly so you don't see stars. Roll the shoulders back, finally reach the hands up towards the sky, and bring the hands to come down to prayer. Now, I think Malasana can be deemed as quite intense for some people. So what we're going to do is we'll start off by coming into chair pose. And then if you want to, you can go into Malasana or you can stick to your chair pose. So, are you ready? Now, we've got feet hip distance apart. And this is us coming into chair first. And you want the toes facing forwards like your feet are emulating a number 11. And then from here, draw navel to spine. Lengthen the tailbone towards the heels. Bring the hands to come to prayer. You're going to start to bend the knees. And I want you to look down at your legs and at your feet at this stage. Pull your knees and your shins back and slowly sink down. So more of your weight should be in your heels than in your toes at this point. And try not to push your bum back and flare up the ribs. Try and hug the ribs in and lengthen the tailbone. Now we're going to rise up to standing. And when we do this, we're going to come up really high into the balls of the feet and try and touch the ceiling. And then you're going to come back down, hands to prayer, into your chair pose. And that's what you're going to be doing. All right. The second option from here is to do this from Malasana though. Now, your Malasana will be slightly different because you're going to be on the balls of the feet rather than on the heels. Turn the toes out towards the sides. Slowly start to sink down. You can use the hands as support there if you need to carefully lower yourself down. Bring your knees out towards the sides. Let your toes track your knees or your knees track your toes. And I again want you to focus on, rather than being really passive, on hugging the ribs in and lengthening the tailbone down so your core is nice and strong. To rise up, I would test it out first and press down to then lift up. And when I say press down actively through the legs to rise up to standing. See how that feels first. Again, if this doesn't feel good, we go back to chair pose. Slowly come back down. Okay, so you choose whichever one you want to do. I of course think that the Malasana one is the harder option, but both have their benefits, so I wouldn't just kind of overly practice one and neglect the other. Make sure you're breathing the whole time, that your shoulders aren't kind of hunching up towards the ears and you're tensing the body or even the jaw. Try and relax the face as best as you can. And you know, there's no wasted movement here. When you're lifting up, the legs are strong. When you're lowering down, the legs are strong. So is the core. You're focusing on your balance as well. There's a lot going on with these. Okay, we're going to make this one the last one, thankfully. Come back down. Make sure you breathe. How did you do? Okay, this time I'm going to flip to the side and I'm turning this one into a goddess squat. Some people call it a sumo squat. Doesn't really matter about the name. So we want the heels in one straight line there, okay? And your toes want to turn out towards the sides to about 10 and 2 o'clock. And when you bend the knees, you want your knees tracking your toes, and you can shuffle the feet to either be closer together or a little bit further apart. So you're not going into the splits. Just remember that. You want to be able to sink down into it and stay nice and upright. Okay, so again, core nice and strong, hugging the ribs in rather than kind of pushing the bum out. All right, so again, we're going to stand up. I'm going to move these feet around a little bit, and then we're going to slowly come down. So it's always worth just looking at your own kind of body whilst you're practicing yoga. It's obviously a bit easier maybe if you're in front of a mirror. But even then, you know, the mirror doesn't tell you everything. So the mirror lies. So we want to make sure that the knees track the toes, and that when we're moving up and down, that we feel nice and strong, we feel really balanced as well. We don't feel like we're wobbling all over the place. And little wobbles is fine, but you don't want to always feel like you're going to fall over. That's not good at all. You want to really feel rooted and in control of this. So again, nice deep breaths. Now we're going to lower down, bring the arms out to the sides, and we're going to tug of war it. So try and isolate the movements in that midsection. Keep the legs where they are, but moving from the belly button up pretty much, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to center and rise. Okay, so come back to the head of your yoga mat, and you want your feet, once again, hip distance apart. Lengthen your tailbone towards the heels, bring the hands to come to prayer. Inhale, reach the hands up towards the sky. And on your exhale, forward fold down. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhaling to forward fold. Bend through the knees, plant the hands and step back here into downward facing dog. Now we're moving into downward dog split next, and I want you to reach the right leg up towards the sky. But when you're doing this, it's so easy to kind of pop the shoulder down, and I really want you to square off the shoulders. So if your right leg is lifted, then I want you to lift up through the left shoulder slightly, maybe even down with the right to square off the shoulders as best as you can. Now we're going to change sides from here. Lifting up the left leg up towards the sky again, reach to those ballet toes, draw navel to spine, and lift up subtly through the right shoulder. Head all the way down. Keep reaching with those toes and breathing. And again, set that foot down. Now we're going to be reaching the right leg up towards the sky, and this is going to be the foot that steps forwards into low lunge. Feet hip distance apart, and if it didn't work out and there's a lot of shuffling around right now, that's okay. I used to be like that too. And reach up finally, either hands to hips or lift up into high lunge. Sink down into it. You can bend the back knee just a little bit if you need to protect your lower back more in this. Keep your hips facing forward, stay on the ball of the back foot. And then begin to straighten out the front leg as best as you can. Any knee injuries, obviously be mindful of that. And then as you rebend the knee, I want your left hand forwards and your right hand back in a T shape. And again, to rise up, straighten out the front leg, reach the hands up. And again, bend that front knee, twist into it, left hand forwards, right hand back. Come back up. And again, down into it, left hand forwards, right hand back. Again, reaching on up. And then on your exhale to twist. Try and twist from that waistline. We've got one more. Good job. From here back to center. Rebend into the front knee, take the hands down, and step back here into downward dog split. So we're going to be changing legs. Left leg reaching up towards the sky. And step that foot forwards. Remember, feet hip distance apart. You can shuffle things around if you're not happy where they landed. Walk the hands up the legs into high lunge. Really root down through the feet. If things don't quite feel right, we take the hands onto the hips. Make those little adjustments before you continue moving. So we're going to straighten out the front leg and twist into it. Right hand forwards, left hand back. Come back to center and twist. Breathing into horizon. On your exhale, float the hands down. We've got one more. Back to center. Reach the hands up. Rebend into the front knee, take the hands down, and step it back into downward dog split. Now walk the feet towards the back, going into plank pose. Chaturanga Dandasana down, lifting up into cobra, and push back into child's pose. Stretch the arms forwards, and maybe practice taking the palms of the hands to face upwards towards the ceiling. Is really nice to practice that external rotation of the shoulders as well. Make sure you're breathing in through the nose and soft exhales out through the mouth. Maybe even give the body a little bit of a wriggle, trying to get it to climatize towards the floor. Now from here we're going to slowly rise up, bring the legs through and round, and you're going to lay yourself down. So lay yourself down onto your back, And you can start off with the knees bent if you want to. Yeah. You can start off with the knees bent, and we're going to be taking the left leg up towards the sky. So keep this left leg in alignment with the hip. You can flex the foot, you can point the toes. If you suffer from cramp, I would probably flex the foot here in this position. And then interlace the hands around the hamstring. So nice deep breaths. And if the leg is like shaking uncontrollably, it means that you're really trying to crank, this leg in too much. You don't want to be doing that at all. Only if you feel ready, I would straighten out that right leg, see how it feels. You can even circle around this top ankle, which is really nice as well. Keep drawing navel to spine, grounding your entire back there into the floor. You could even point and flex that front foot as well, which is again super good for the ankle and the Achilles. And then now I'm interlacing the hands around this left shin to encourage this left knee to come towards the left shoulder. And by doing this, provides such a nice release here for the lower back, keeping it nice and happy. Now I'm going to change sides. I'm going to start off with, again, both knees bent. Connect your entire spine towards the floor so there's no kind of arch going on. Lift this right leg out. Keep it in alignment there with the hip/shoulder, so you don't want it in towards your center line. And if you feel ready, we can straighten out this left leg. And then do some nice little dinky circles there, seeing how that feels. Feels a bit weird, not gonna lie, but it just shows you need it. And especially, if you end up wearing a lot of like footwear, boots and things like that, this is really good for those joints and those little itty bitty muscles that get tight. So now I'm bending this right knee and bringing it up towards this right shoulder, giving it a good squeeze and hug in. And if you just so happen to have, you live with someone, you have a buddy around, then, gently get them to apply just a little bit of a stretch here for you, maybe placing the hand on that left thigh or drawing this right knee up towards the shoulder. Just a light amount of weight or pressure is just super good. Then we're going to be bringing both knees in towards the chest, giving them a good squeeze and hug there in towards you. And we're going to take it into a twist, so bring both arms out towards the sides into a T-shape. And see if we can lower both knees towards the floor, towards the right hand side. Try and stack the hips and the knees one on top of the other. And you can turn the head towards the left hand side as well. So see if you can soften that left shoulder as close to the floor as you can. Let the feet touch the ground. And then come back to center, and we're going to float the legs over towards the other side. Again, nice deep breaths, trying to get that twist in from the waistline. And twists are really good for the digestive system, so if we're not feeling so good in that area, but we feel like we need to move to rinse it out, something like this is really good for that. Okay, so let the feet rest. Maybe the hands can move by the sides of the body or on top of the belly. And close the eyes if you haven't done so. Let your breathing take over at this point. And let that expansion happen here along the chest, the ribs, and the belly as you breathe in and breathe out. So let your yoga mat take you here at this point. Try not to hold yourself away from the floor. And just take a moment to be really grateful for what your body can do. Acknowledge what it can do, what it's been through as well. Then it's taking you to this point, and it will take you further. I think sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves, and take note of that. Do you put yourself down? Is this once a day? Is this a weekly thing? Is this every hour? See if you can recognize those patterns. And you don't have to write it down necessarily, but see if those types of thoughts, you know, do they feature quite a lot for you on a day-to-day basis? And if they do, see how we can break that pattern and start to make that happen less. So remind yourself whilst you're here in Shavasana that you are strong, that you are strong inside and out. So I'm going to leave you here to enjoy the rest of your Shavasana. Thank you so much for practicing yoga with me today. Really hope you enjoyed it.